throws, and it's intercepted. It's intercepted by number 22. That's Clifton. He's got the left edge. Turns on the Jets. Still on his feet. Touchdown, Calaveras. What a play. Up to a running back. That's Ferrante over to the right side. He cuts back up the middle. He's got room. One man to beat. He turns on the Jets. There he goes. Touchdown, Calaveras. What a play. Welcome, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to Let's Talk Football with Coach Val. I'm your host, Gil Valtiera, the voice of Calaveras Football. This episode, we dive into a new topic, which is defensive football. And I could not be more excited to dive in and get down to some X's and O's and talk some defensive football. What a better person to choose than with our special guest today, a current defensive coordinator with Calaveras High School football, Mr. Doug Clark. Doug? Coach, thanks so much for spending time out of your busy schedule and be here today. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
You bet. Some background for our listeners. Doug and I are very good friends. We've coached together at Calaveras for many years. Doug, why don't you share with our audience, your background, where you came from, where you went to school, how long you've been coaching. Take us back from little Doug.
Okay. I grew up over in Tuolumne County, kind of one of the new enemy sites, and started playing Pop Warner in sixth grade, and had a decision when I graduated from eighth grade or promoted from eighth grade to go to Somerville or Sonora. We were in those boundary lines, and Sonora had a little bit better of a football program at the time, and I just couldn't get enough of it, so I chose Sonora. Played 4 years there under Coach Canepa, Coach Smith, and loved it. Had some good seasons. And after graduating high school, going on to college, started looking for a teaching job. And Coach Canepa, my former coach, was coaching at Calaveras. And he said, "Hey, why don't you stop by the district, see if we can get you a job? I think the middle school's looking for someone." Stopped by, got a job. Started coaching my first year there in 2000. So been coaching at Calaveras 24 years. 24
years, wow. Now, backing up just a little bit, Coach, when after you graduated from Sonora, what college did you go to?
Chico State.
Chico State. Now, did they have football there?
They had football there for about the first year I was there, maybe the second year, and unfortunately, one of the programs they dropped with a lot of them around the state.
Right, all the budget cuts, all that stuff. Unfortunately, we saw that a lot. UOP, Chico, a lot of schools that used to have it. Okay, so then you graduate college, you come back, get a teaching, and then you end up coaching with your former coach. That had to be interesting, and he used to coach you, and now you're on his staff. How did that go, especially right in the beginning?
Yeah, right in the beginning, it was, dive in, you graduate, and you all excited to start a new job, and football's the right off the bat first season of the school year. So new job, new coaching. It was a lot, but if you know Coach Canepa, he's got his stuff dialed in, a lot of support, and I was nervous as can be. So I
bet.
Yep, down there, stuck me down as the head coach of the freshmen. So started out with the freshman program for 4 years and worked my way up to the JV program, and from there, worked my way up to the varsity.
The rest was history.
Yes.
I had a similar type experience. The only difference was my ex-high school coach, when I came back to start coaching, I ended up on a staff in a school that was an opposing team school in the same league. So I ended up having to coach against my ex-coach.
Wow.
Which was kind of weird, especially that interaction after the game's over and you go and meet in the middle of the field and shake hands.
Yeah.
So, pretty interesting dynamic there. Well, Coach, Let's dive right on in. I'm really excited about this episode because, frankly, we've been talking in other episodes about great topics, things around football and, the surrounding perimeter of it. But today we're actually going to get down to some X's and O's, folks. I want to really talk a little bit about football. We're not going to get too intricate, paint some broad strokes. Maybe down the road we can get more detailed. But there's an old saying in football, Coach, where they say it all starts up front, right? So let's start with that defensive line. When you look at a defensive line, what body type is your ideal defensive lineman? Explain the differences between an interior defensive lineman compared to a defensive lineman who plays on the edge.
Correct. Well, a lot in that question. The body type, obviously, when you're talking, starts up front, we're looking for bigger guys. These are your bigger guys. Maybe not the fastest guys in the world, but they got to have some meat to them. One of the better performing up front guys that we've had are some of the upper heavyweight wrestlers.
Gotcha.
So guys that are big but comfortable on their feet. They have to, be able to take on a double team. They have to have good balance. It's a tough position because you're just not coming free. You have somebody in your face at the start of every play, and it takes a special person. But a bigger, stronger. Obviously, every position is going to take an athletic person, but the more agility that they have in a bigger body, that's what we're looking for.
So it's fair to say someone on the defensive line is probably going to be one of the bigger guys on the team.
100%.
Gotcha.
100%.
So, Coach, how does running, say, a different defensive front affect the type of defensive lineman that you have out there? So, for example, maybe help explain to our listeners, sometimes you have defensives that only run a 3-man front or a 4-man front or a 5-man front, maybe even a 6-man front. Maybe help explain to our layman out there, what does that mean with 3, 4, 5, all that? And then based on that, how does that change the kind of body type that you want out there for that front?
Right. Yeah. And we do the same thing at Calaveras. Our base front is a 50, which is a 5-man front. So you have your 3, I call them 3 interior linemen, your nose guard and 2 defensive tackles. And then you have those outer edge guys that you were talking about earlier that still need to be a big guy, but they need to have a little bit more speed to them because they have a little bit more responsibility, controlling run, maybe drop into the flat, where your interior guys are just, plugging holes, stopping that run, getting to the quarterback. So that's our base is the 50. So we, 5 linemen.
5-man front.
5-man front.
So let's say you have a team that has a 4-man. What changes with the?
And we have the 4-man front as well. We call it our 4-4 slide defense.
Okay.
And the 4-man front is not much different up front, except for obviously we have 2 interior guys and 2 guys on the outside. Same body type, same positioning, but we're dropping another guy back. Maybe we want to cover more area on the field, not up front. A team that maybe doesn't run necessarily right up the chute. Maybe we're just trying for a different look, but that's our 4-man front compared to our 50.
Gotcha. Okay. Coach, let's move on to the linebackers. Typically, there's inside backers, there's outside backers. We know that, they have different alignment and responsibilities change depending on the defensive front you're going to run. And that defensive front you're going to run can change every week depending on the kind of offense you're going to play. Let's say, to keep things simple, we're just going to talk about 2 interior backers and 2 outside backers. What body types are you looking for here? And what type of athletic ability or agility are you looking for both of these types of backers?
Right. Well, again, everybody on defense needs to be tough and have a different attitude, different mindset. Linebackers, they're a different breed. Both interior and outside linebackers, have the responsibility to stop run. but at any given time, all four have to have the responsibility to be able to cover pass as well. So my outside linebackers, they might be a little bit taller, lankier, a little bit bigger guys, more a combination between a lineman and an inside backer, because they could be up on the line on the outside. They could be dropped back. So, agility wise, they have to be able to be tough enough and strong enough to come up, but they also have to have the ability to be able to drop back into a pass and cover somebody.
Right.
Where our interior linebackers, I call them basically the quarterback of defense. They're the ones that usually get the huddle going, call the play, set the defense up, and they just have to be, again, a little bit crazy in the head. They set the tone. They got to come up and take on a big guard coming at them, a big fullback coming at them. We ask them to take somebody on and then control a gap and make a tackle. Lot of responsibility and a lot of physical play has to come from the linebackers inside and out.
Yeah, when we back up and we talked about the defensive lineman, he was probably one of the bigger guys on the team. Now we're going into the middle of the field. The defensive line are going to line up right at the line of scrimmage, is right where the football is. These linebackers are probably going to be more like 3 to 5 yards off the line of scrimmage, backed up a little bit. And now, Coach, it sounds like they're more like a hybrid player, right? They got to be big and strong because some of those offensive linemen are trying to attack them and come block them. They need to be able to shed that block and go find the ball. And then at the same time, have agility and movement on their feet to where they can move laterally, they can move downhill towards the ball, they can get back into zone coverages. So it sounds more like they're more like a hybrid player.
100%. They're a hybrid player. And, but it's unique. Doing this 24 years, we've had some linebackers that have been a little bit above 5 foot and a little bit over 100 pounds, but some reason they had that ability to be able to take on a block, shed a block, But yeah, your linebackers are exactly what you said, a hybrid between your linemen and your defensive backs. But above all, they have to be just physically tough, just a different mindset,
right?
Because it's a tough position.
It's a very tough position when you look at, you've got offensive linemen who are usually pretty big, just like the defensive linemen. And if they get off the ball and they're trying to go hit you, you've got some big guy trying to hit you. And at the same time, you're trying to get away from them and trying to find the football and go tackle the ball carrier, who's probably a pretty fast guy carrying that ball, right?
Right. We typically, you got a guard or tackle coming. Typically offensive guards and tackles, their job is to, chip to backers or go straight to backers.
Right.
You're looking at some of our linemen in the Mother Lode League. You're looking at guys 200 plus pounds coming at you, plus a fullback maybe carrying the ball at, 180 plus pounds, 200. Yeah, it's a tough task that we ask these kids to do week in and week out.
So someone is going to be able to take on that block, maybe shed the block, and then still immediately after that go make a tackle, right?
That's what we ask them to do, and
would you say that linebackers, as far as the defensive side of the ball, is probably the hardest to find the right guy to play that spot?
That's a safe assumption to make, but
because to me it's like, okay, if you're fast, you're tall and lanky, you're probably going to be a receiver or corner or something. But to find that linebacker, you got to have a little bit of all the different pieces, and it seems like it's just a harder fit to find the right person for that spot.
It is, and unfortunately, they take a beating. So, if you got a guy go down, there's a good chance it's a linebacker going down, because they're constantly getting blocked, by the blind side. We always teach our offense, get to the backers. And, so, as a defensive guy, our backers, their heads have to be on a swivel. They're always taking shots. So, yeah, you got to have some depth there. And again, you just can't put a person in that spot, So yes, very difficult to find the right guy.
Gotcha. So let's back up now a little bit more from where the linebackers are lined up, And let's talk about the defensive backs. Usually, these are going to be your corners, your strong safety, your free safety. What are you looking for from body type from this group?
Right. And I guess it would be fair to say the farther you go back from the line of scrimmage, maybe less weight you have to have.
Gotcha.
These have to be guys that are fast. Typically guys that are fast. If you don't have speed, we're really not going to look for you as a defensive back, because you have to cover these receivers, and receivers are fast.
Right.
And, teams that run sweep, maybe you're on the offside. You got to take the correct angles and get there, So, yeah, the body type is, hopefully, ideally, a little bit taller, a little bit leaner. And again, these are, I guess I can go back to the intro where, hey, I did a little bit of coaching wrestling at the high school as well. So I relate a lot of football to wrestling. These would be my middle, lower weight wrestlers, guys that are leaner,
Gotcha.
they're faster, but they have to be able to tackle. And I always relate it to that, double leg takedown. There's a lot of open field tackling with the DBs. It's one-on-one. So now you don't have that. If you're a lineman, the help of the backers, or, the help of the guy next to you. A lot of times you're out on an island, so you have to be a sure tackler with speed.
Like you said, the farther away you move away from the line of scrimmage, you don't have to be as big. But on the other side of that coin, you're now out there by yourself, and you're going to have to make a play by yourself out in space against somebody that's pretty fast and has some moves. Okay, so the speed's going to be important. Maybe they're not as tall, but then now you get into, hey, I've got a great vertical jump. I can really jump. I could touch the rim when in the basketball hoop or something like that. Because when that ball's thrown up, we want to be able to actually get up there and go after the football as well, right?
Oh, 100%. So yeah, it's a unique position, and I can go back and if I got time here, I can tell one story. We had back in 2010. We had two All-State defensive backs, Chris Ussery, Monty Wilson. Two completely different body types, but yet two All-State defensive backs. And so, yeah, a lot of times we'd use Chris Ussery up on the line, jamming a guy in his face. He had the speed to keep up with just about anybody, but maybe didn't have the height. Monty Wilson, a little safety over the top, maybe cheating to a receiver like, let's just say Judge from Linden back in the day.
Right.
6 foot, whatever. Yeah, so we'd throw Chris Ussery up in his face. He could keep up with them. A taller, just as fast Monty Wilson over the top to help out with the height. So,
yeah, for those of you that listening in and weren't sure, that's Aaron Judge, current New York Yankee, Major League All-Star baseball player who's from a little old town here in Linden, California, that played in the Motherlode League for Linden High School. And he played at a time. He also played football back in high school. He was a really big, tall receiver. And coaches is referring to when he had the smaller defensive backs that had to somehow cover a guy like that.
Oh, yeah, that guy gave me nightmares.
So from we talked about linebackers having to be kind of a hybrid, a little bit of a lineman, a little bit of a DB, and good on their feet. Is there any of those DBs that also have to be kind of a hybrid player, maybe a little DB, a little linebacker?
Oh, 100%, because, as a corner, and say here comes a sweep play, or here comes, a play that got through our line and got through our backs, backs typically aren't, a lot of times aren't small guys or light guys. There's some weight to them. And for a DB to come up and to tackle, yeah, so they have to be just as physically tough as a linebacker. They just looking for a guy with just a little bit more speed, but hopefully, ideally, just as tough.
Just as tough as if you're finding a common denominator in all of this, folks, and for all you young people out there that want to play football at the high school at Calaveras, you've heard it straight from the horse's mouth, defensive coordinator. You better be tough. Whether you're on the D-line, a linebacker, defensive back, you need to be tough to come out and play defense.
Yeah, defense, you need tough, relentless guys that will sacrifice.
So, Coach, let's put it all together now. We talked a little bit about the D linemen. We talked about linebackers. And now we just finished talking about the DBs. And obviously, you and I both know from all the years of experience, we could spend hours just talking about one position, let alone trying to summarize all of these. So right now, we're just painting a broad stroke for the folks. Maybe down the road, we'll have episodes dedicated to just certain spots and, even maybe bring in one of the guys. Putting it all together now. Let's say based on an opponent you're going to face this week, you've decided that you're going to run a 4-4 defense. You think that's the best based on the offense you're going to face this week. So that's 4 defensive linemen, 4 linebackers, and 3 defensive backs. So you're going to run that 4-4. Where do you go from here as far as preparing your defense for the upcoming game? So now you got a whole week now, Monday through Thursday, to get ready for Friday. You're going to run that 4-4. How do you prepare those guys for that week?
Oh, starting back at the beginning of the week?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, so we obviously watch a lot of film on the opponent, and we've decided we're going to be in that 4-4. So obviously up front, we have 2 interior guys. They have to do their job and control their gaps. We're minus that third down lineman, so they got to be nails. They can't get upfield. They got to be tough, control their gap, do their job. Outside guys on the line, hey, squeeze everything in. Don't let anything bounce. We're expecting probably, spreading us out a little bit more, getting into a 4-4 with our 4 linebackers. So you got the, 2 inside linebackers, 2 outside linebackers. This is where those outside linebackers become that hybrid DB guy, because now they're out covering the flats, and the interior linemen or interior backers are that hybrid between backers and linemen. We only have 2 down linemen, so those 2 middle backers, they have to become instant linemen to fill those gaps.
Step up and
fill those gaps. And DB wise, now we're, in a cover 3, they got the field broken down to the third. So maybe a little bit more field if we, weren't in a cover 4, a trader man or whatever people talk about. So we have to make sure that we're doing our job. Always do your job, stick to your area, your game plan. Don't try to overplay. Don't try to overthink. Defensively, the least you can think, more time to react.
There you go.
So, get to your spot and do your job.
Coach, I mean, you and I both have enough experience. I've been a defense coordinator. You're a defensive coordinator. You've done it for many years. I've learned a lot from you, by the way, in preparing a lot of these guys. So I thank you for all of that. Is there anything as far as more important for that defensive side of the ball, more important than tackling?
Oh, tackling is key. I don't know. I'm going to repeat myself, but defensively, the first thing, I want tough kids.
Right.
Going back to that tough.
Right.
It's just the defense is a whole different mindset. Tough. Yeah. And then, yes, tackling. I don't care how tough you are or how fast you are. If you get to the spot and you don't make the tackle, your speed didn't help us.
Right.
Your toughness didn't help us.
Right.
So there is nothing more important than being a good tackler. And all 11 guys, it takes all 11.
Yeah, so defensive linemen, you need to know how to tackle. Linebackers, you need to know how to tackle. And defensive backs, you need to know how to tackle.
100%.
Yeah. I can't think of anything more important than that, because I'd almost rather have, say, somebody that's in a spot and lined up wrong, right? Well, you weren't in the right spot. They were lined up wrong, or maybe they missed a read and they have a responsibility that they made a mistake on, but they're great tacklers, right? I could fix your alignment. I could fix and reteach you your responsibilities, but you got to be able to tackle. I could fix the other stuff pretty easy. And I'd rather have somebody that's tackling and coming in, and I always say I get to the ball carrier in a bad mood, right?
Right.
Get there with some purpose and come up and lay a hit and really tackle somebody. I want that guy. and then I'll teach you alignment and responsibilities and all of that stuff.
100%, because you can tackle, you're going to win games, and like you said, if they're lining up wrong or the alignment's not quite right, things that we can fix as coaches, we're just going to put them in a better spot, and that tackle's going to happen quicker. But yes, if you can tackle, you're going to be successful.
So I think this would be a message to all you young guys out there. Don't show up to practice and just be waiting for team time to prove yourself and show what you can do. During individual times, when you're with your groups, when you're doing drills with your DB coach, when you're doing drills with your linebacker coach, when you're doing drills with your lineman coach, a lot of those drills have to do with tackling, especially during a defensive day. And that's usually where you're going to shine and show your coach that you could tackle.
Yep, 100% that. And a lot of times I love, obviously, when it's a defensive day, I love the defensive days. But when it's the offensive day, I'm working with our scout D. And not another great place for them to shine. Hey, we're out there going against our first team trying to prepare them. But I got this guy that's just kicking their butt up and down the field, making tackles left and right, getting to a spot. Hey, you just grabbed my attention over there. You might not be on the starting D, but you're going to find a spot there pretty quick if this keeps up.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. I've seen it happen where, the kid's not on the first O, so the first O's out there. He gets out there and scout D. On defense, maybe he's not starting, but he's kind of a bubble player. He's a second string guy. And all of a sudden, he's the first string guy just because of all the work and reps he's been getting on that scout defense.
Yep.
So you scout players become the first string players by just getting all those reps and getting all that practice and getting all that coaching in. So don't be that guy that stands on the sideline and shies away from having to get out there. Be out there, be proactive. Tell coach, hey, where's an open spot? I'll go play there. Even if you don't know how to play there, they'll coach you up and teach you what you need to do. Just get out there and get those reps.
Yep, get recognized.
Absolutely. Coach, we're almost running out of time. Any last words about anything that we talked about today as far as defense of football, defense at Calaveras? Obviously, you got an upcoming new league, new Motherlode League upcoming next season. I think that'll be interesting with some new teams, some old teams that we're familiar with, like Linden. And then some brand new teams we don't know much about coming into the league. Have you thought about any of that yet? Yeah,
no, looking forward to it because, it's not that you get stuck in a rut, but you get comfortable facing teams, doing what you've done in the past. Maybe it's worked. You got to make a few adjustments, but you start seeing some of these new teams, new offenses. You start looking, okay, hey, what can we do defensively? So, I'm looking forward to the change and getting excited.
Well, I'm excited for you. Can't wait for the season to start. Get out there and watch these guys in action. I'm sure all of our listeners are excited as well. Folks, I want to thank you all out there for listening and the overwhelming support from the community that we've been receiving around this podcast. Thanks to Doug Clark for taking the time out of his busy schedule to be here today, so I appreciate that, Coach. Remember, if you have any questions that you'd like for us to address or have any comments that you would like for us to air in a future episode, you can follow us on our Instagram page at Let's Talk Football with Coach Val, or you can shoot us an email at gilbertvaltierra@gmail.com. That was Defensive Football with Defensive Coordinator Coach Clark. Like I said, broad strokes. We'll get down to details in the near future here. But, Coach, thanks again for coming in today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Can't wait.
You bet. And until next time, we are out. And it's intercepted. It's intercepted by number 22. That's Clifton. He's got the left edge. Turns on the Jets. Still on his feet. Touchdown, Calaveras! What a play! Up to a running back. That's Ferrante over to the right side. He comes back up the middle. He's got room. One man to beat. He turns on the Jets. There he goes! Touchdown, Calaveras! What a play!